Good evening, everybody. This is J. Michael Manley with Keller Williams Realty here in Greenville, South Carolina, Greenville Upstate. I'm also the run a team called the J. Michael Manley team here in the upstate of South Carolina. And then also a bold coach, traveling around the country helping other agents and making sure that we get them to the next level and breaking through their business and their personal life, through their mindset and those kind of things. Doing our everything we can to make sure that people achieve the life by design that they truly desire to achieve. I'd like to kind of start off by saying thank you to Ben Fairfield for the invitation to cover the MREA Mastermind book, and actually going to be covering the budget model this evening. And so I really appreciate that, and really excited to be taking that and diving deep with you all today, helping you get through that to a deeper level. So really kind of debated on today of how to get this to the next level for everybody. So, thought about covering this and doing it for first thing this morning, and then I waited, thought maybe we'll do it this afternoon. And my team had a team outing at the Carowinds, which is a local theme park here in the Carolinas. And so traffic and everything coming home this evening, it just worked out with the kids and those kind of things to make sure that we get this done later in the evening. I know we're probably running about 7 o'clock. People are on the West Coast. We've got some people here on the East Coast. At 10 o'clock, you're probably getting the kids to bed, maybe even laying in bed yourself, and just kind of taking a look and testing it out and see what we've got here. So please give me a shout out if you can in the comments. We've got a few people on here. Give me a shout out in the comments and let me know that you can hear me okay, everything's okay. Thought it'd be best to kind of just do this at my happy spot, which is out on my back porch, and just kind of enjoying the wonderful evening we've got here in the Carolinas. So if you can give me a thumbs up, a shout out, if you can hear me, everything okay, no background noise, those kind of things, everybody can see me well. Just kind of give me a thumbs up, shout out. So on the budget model, I think that, we're breaking this down to 3 pages. It's page 192. Awesome. Thanks, Ryan. Page 192 to page 195 is really what we're covering here. And so there's not a lot as far as page-wise to cover, yet there is a ton of information to cover on these 3 pages. And so we're talking about if you're following along in your Millionaire Real Estate Agent book, or if you're tomorrow you come back and watch this and pick this up, everything's going to stem around from this graph right there on page 193. And there's a lot of information on this chapter, and I think there does some really cool things on here that do not actually cover the budget model, yet really kind of break down some things for us and really kind of understand them at a much deeper level. So this is the model number 3, the Millionaire Real Estate Agent, and it's the budget model. And so I just want to kind of go through a couple of things. This is broken down into 2 pieces. 2 pieces is we're going to cover the cost of sale, and we're also going to cover operating expenses. So on the cost of sale, what we're looking at on cost of sale is that's the actual information or the cost that we are having to pay our agents, having to pay referral fees, those kind of things. Sometimes you can put referral fees down into the lead generation part of this, yet I like to keep them in, for me personally, and this is just for me, I like to keep that operating or those referral fees to other agents around the country, any outgoing referral fee, we keep that in the cost of sales for us personally. And it works out for us, really kind of getting an idea, because that's really what it is costing us to create that sale. And so anything that we do on that, referral fees, any of the expenses to the agents as far as, splits, those kind of things, that's all going to go into the cost of sale piece of that. Now, in the Millionaire Real Estate Agent budget, you really kind of break down the cost of sale between your seller specialist and your buyer specialist. You're really breaking those down to, and Gary's given us a model of 29.2% for both of those. And I think this is where a really big misconception comes out when we're talking about the millionaire real estate agent and the budget model. One of the things that we kind of think about is like, well, how are we only getting 4.4% in the model for a selling agent? And Gary really breaks this down in the actual book. He actually says that, he believes that the best model for a selling agent is a salary plus a small bonus. And so when we're looking at a salary, you're looking at that's going to bring this down into the operational expenses of the budget. And so when we're looking at performing at a high level on a selling specialist, we're really looking for someone that is going to be making somewhere between $65,000 and $100,000 a year is kind of that budget model that we're looking at creating for that listing specialist or seller specialist. And so, that's how we're kind of keeping our model down. Now, I'd like to kind of go back and really kind of, I believe in being transparent and being honest and really kind of talking about some of my failures as I've created my team and some of the challenges that I've created for myself that I've had to work through and really kind of help shorten your learning curve. I always say that, if you can go and learn from someone that's been at where you're looking to go, or they've already been through that, and you can learn from what they've actually, from their successes and from their failures. What you're looking at in that situation is you're really looking at a situation where you get to shorten your learning curve. And I think that's really the cool part of when we're talking about you become the sum total of the 5 people that you hang around with the most, is that you're learning from how to shorten your learning curve. And so let's start back with this. When we're talking about building the model, Gary has laid out and he's actually given us a model where we can actually go. As an individual agent, what you should be looking at is you should be looking at about 30% of your total gross GCI, 30% of your total gross GCI should be going towards your expenses. And then that means that you should be bringing home roughly 70% of your total income. Now, that's the model. So as you go into growth mode and you start to hire more people, you start to hire some admins, you start to hire some buyer's agents, you hire listing specialists, what's going to happen is that model is going to change, and so it's going to fluctuate. So there may be periods of time where you are out of model on the profit for a short period of time so that you can get caught up. Now, here's where you have to watch, and here's where you kind of really have to lay this out for yourself. As you're looking at this, one of the things that I usually recommend is that making sure that you are financially prepared for that first listing specialist. And I really believe that the model, Gary really did an amazing job at breaking down this model at the start. So, number one, it's you in level 1. And it's you're running out there, you're lead generating, you're running at 90%, and then all of a sudden you start to live the life that you say, that's not the life that I truly desire to live. The non-bold life. You're living life by default and not on purpose and not by design. And so as you're looking at this, you need to now hire an admin. And so when you go and hire that admin, Gary says in the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book that you need 3 months worth of salary for that person. So normally a lot of times us as agents, we think about in terms of $30,000 or $36,000 or $40,000 that we would have to pay for an admin. And Gary says really you only need 3 months worth of salary for that person in the bank, because they should be making their salary back for you based on, that 3-month period. And so when you look at that, that's probably one of the first mistakes that we make as we're growing a team, as we're growing a business, or switching from a job of being a real estate agent, a career of going to a business owner. And so what happens is we wait too long to hire that first admin, and at that point we start to reach that ceiling of achievement. As we talk about, we're entrepreneurial, we start reaching that ceiling of achievement. And when we start reaching that ceiling of achievement, we start to pull back. And when we start to pull back, ladies and gentlemen, what happens is we've taken our foot off the gas, which is going to cause our business to come back down. It's the same as in that graph, entrepreneurial to purposeful business. And so what happens is that we wait till we have, more than 3 months worth of salary in the bank to hire our first admin. Well, at that point, we've already started pulling back. And so our profitability is going to start to decline before we even hire that admin. Once we hire that first admin, we've got 3 months worth of salary in the bank. We go and hire that admin. Now we don't get this. What we've done is we've not bought leverage for us to get off work early and go to the mall or go and hang out at the pool. What we've actually done is we've bought leverage so that we can actually keep our foot on the gas. See, the 60% of the job that we do poorly as real estate agents is the paperwork. And so what we've done is we've taken 60% of the job that we do poorly, that maybe drains our energy, doesn't provide us energy. We've taken that and handed it to an admin. Now the admin's handling that, and as the admin's handling that portion of the position, now you've bought 60% of your time back to actually go and keep your foot on the lead generation gas pedal. And so as you're keeping your foot on that lead generation gas pedal, what you're doing is you're starting to build more income. You're starting to build more income. And that's probably the number one way that a admin starts paying for themselves, is by allowing you to keep your foot on the lead generation gas pedal. And so now what's happening is you're getting more profitable. You're getting more profitable because you're not paying an admin based on commissions. You're paying an admin based on a salary. So the more commissions that you're able to earn, guess what? The percentage of that salary of the income that you're bringing in goes down. And so now you go and you hire your second admin, because this is profitability ways. I would say, step number 2 of the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book, the level 2 is where most of us start to get into a really, really shaky profitability stance. We go and hire a buyer's agent before we hire the second admin, because we're thinking, in our mind, we're thinking, hey, we go hire another admin. We go hire another admin. Now I'm taking on another expense. Where if I go and hire a buyer's agent before I hire the second admin, what ends up happening is when we hire that buyer's agent, now I got income potentially coming in. And yet, ladies and gentlemen, what I'm here to tell you is that if you do that, you're actually limiting your income potential. Now, I know that sounds counterproductive, yet that second admin, what it's going to do is that's going to allow you, and yeah, you're going to cut back just a little bit on your income, yet what it's going to do is it's going to allow you to run faster in the long run. See, that second admin that you're hiring is more than likely a transaction coordinator, and they're going to take the closing coordination off of your first admin that you've hired. Okay? They're taking all that closing coordination off of your first admin, which then allows us, your first admin now has more bandwidth that they can go in and write models, and they can go and write systems for you. And so when they go and write those models and write those systems for you, now what happens is that you get to test the systems. The first admin creates them. You get to follow them. You get to test them. You do not get to create them. The admin gets to create them. And so as your admin is creating those models and systems for you to follow, what you're actually doing is you're testing them so that when you bring in that first buyer's agent, what you do when you bring in that first buyer's agent is now when that buyer's agent comes back and says, hey, you know what, I don't like to follow that form that you've got. It seems like too much paperwork for me. Yeah, I'm not feeling it. Then you can say, I've actually tested that system. I know that system allows you the best opportunity to operate in a truly purposeful versus an entrepreneurial level. And then from there, what happens is that now you can go back and say to that buyer's agent, no, you're going to fill out that piece of paperwork. You're going to fill out this tracking form, because what happens is that now it allows the whole system to run at an even higher level. And you've already tested the systems so that you know that that buyer's agent that you've hired can truly run at the highest level possible, because you've already tested the systems. Your admins created them. You've tested them. Came back to your admin and said, this works, that doesn't work. And so now they've refined the system until they are fine-tooth comb. And now you get to start running at a much higher level and get into expansion faster, because your systems are already been tested and proven. They are bulletproofed. And so now I'm not saying that you're not going to tweak those systems as you go, because as you grow, as things change, as it always does in the real estate industry, you're going to have to tweak those systems. It's the admin's job to tweak the systems, not us, the agents. I always say, when I hired my first admin, I actually hired a boss because they've got to keep me accountable and hold me to continue to keep that foot on that lead generation pedal. All right, so there's my little tangent for tonight. Now, you've got your first admin, you've got your second admin, and now you're going to hire your buyer's agent. So you're still keeping your foot on the lead generation gas. So what you've done is you've actually created leverage for yourself. You've created leverage for a buyer's agent. You get to keep that foot on the gas, on the lead generation, on the listing side of the business, and the buyer's agent's now keeping the foot on the gas for the buyer side of the business. Now both of you can run at a higher level because you're not having to worry about, what do I do about this contract? Your admin's taking care of the contract. She's filled it out. He or she's filled it out before you have even left. Okay? And so when you finish your lead generation, all your contracts for the day are already completed, filled out, ready to go, and you and your buyer's agent just get to run at the highest of level. It's truly purposeful, and it's the most profitable way, which is why Gary wrote the book the way he did. So now, you've got your buyer specialist and you're both running at a higher level. You're probably getting to go home a little bit earlier now. You're probably actually getting to take some time off on the weekends now. You really are getting to that point where you truly are starting to live a life by design. And yet you may say, hey, there's more growth potential out there. And ladies and gentlemen, you'd be absolutely correct. There is more growth potential out there for you. And now you start thinking, hey, I can go and hire a listing specialist. Now, the listing specialist hire, I'm here to tell you, is probably the most challenging in the budget model. Because here's what happens. You're getting ready to take the income that you've been earning, and I'm sure you've been feeding the team, you've been putting money back into the team, you've been putting your expenses back so that you've got, I would say, roughly 3 months worth of expenses. Because what's getting ready to happen, this is where you're going to take your biggest step back on your profitability for a little bit. So you're hiring that that listing specialist, and they're going to take over your job. And you've been used to making all the money on the listing side of the business, and now you're getting ready to hand that off, or a portion of that off, to someone else. And so you have to be very, very careful when you get to this level and start hiring that listing specialist right here. Because if you're not prepared for the amount of income drop that you're getting ready to have, because you are hiring that listing specialist, you are getting them up and running, you are paying them an income, you're paying them a salary plus a bonus. And as you're looking at that, you're going, wow, this is going to get tough. And I'm here to tell you, yeah, it's going to get tough. This is really where it separates, the millionaire real estate agent from the person that builds a smaller business. Neither one of these, and don't get me wrong, neither one of these two options is bad by any means. Neither one of them are bad. What I'm here to say is that they're two different models, and they take two different individuals to go out there and crush it on either side. And so you got to be ready. You got to be focused when you hire that first listing specialist. One, you've got to know your listing presentation, what you're actually doing, so that you've got a duplicatable model that anyone can come in and follow. And so you can't be operating entrepreneurial on the listing side of the business because you're a great lead generator and because you just have the ability to charm people when you get in the house. So you got to have a listing specialist. You got to have a listing specialist, and you got to have a listing presentation that you can now teach. And when you teach that, now they can operate at the same level that you are. You're not operating entrepreneurial. You've been operating purposeful. You've been holding yourself accountable to operating purposeful, which now allows you to teach that other buyer, that other showing specialist or seller specialist, that you now can become purposeful as well. And they can run at the highest level. That's why the book, when Gary wrote the book, he says that a good listing specialist should be able to take 20 listings a month. Now, I know a lot of people are like, well, that seems, get what I'm saying? You are duplicatable because you have been purposeful in your listing specialist. When you get in a listing specialist, or when you get into a listing appointment, you've actually got it documented down that when the seller goes, the other agent told me that they could get me more money for the table or for this house. You actually sit back in your chair, you turn your chair a quarter turn to the table, you cross your leg, you put your pen down, you go into completely relaxed position. And when you're in that truly, truly relaxed position, you say, I'm not I'm not tied to the outcome of I've got to get this property listed at all costs. What I'm truly tied into is that I'm truly tied into the fact that I'm going to do the right thing for these sellers and make sure that I price this home correctly and get it on the market at a price that I know it was going to sell. And so you go into this relaxed, defenseless posture so that you can be honest with them. And I always say, touch your chest. When you touch your chest, what happens is you start bleeding empathy. And so now you're running into the situation where, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, I'd love to be able to get your home sold for that. And you go right on through the script, yet you're touching your chest, you're taking a defenseless posture. And so now they know you're telling the truth because you're being true and authentic. You're not selling yourself to sell it at a higher price. You're not getting, as we teach in Bold, you're not arguing with the seller on the price. And so you're getting at a point where your listing presentation is so purposeful that you can teach somebody how to sit back, turn the chair a quarter turn, put their pen down, and really have a conversation, a truthful conversation with the seller. And that's how purposeful your listing presentation has got to be when you hire that first listing specialist. Okay? Now, I personally, as a Bold coach, say that you should be doing the Bold listing presentation, because now the Bold listing presentation is set up to where you can get in and out of the house in a matter of 45 minutes, in and out of the house in a matter of 45 minutes. And so now you get to operate and you go, J. Michael, that's a lot of information that doesn't seem like it has to do with profitability. And ladies and gentlemen, I'm here to tell you it has everything to do with profitability. Now, I've got a couple of things here in the last 10 minutes, and I'll open up for some questions. If anybody has any questions, feel free to post them in the comments there. As you're looking at this, you got your cost to sell. Remember I said that this is where your bonus percentage, your commission split going to your seller specialist or listing specialist is going to go. This is where your buyer specialist split is going to go. And in my business, and I'm just saying in my business, this is also where I put my outside referral fees in there as well. Everything else is going to go into operating expenses. Everything else goes into operating expenses. Those are your two main categories: cost of sale, think commissions, and then operating expenses. Now, ladies and gentlemen, here's one thing that you have got to get, and Gary actually highlights it and says it twice in the 3 pages. So you've got to get this part. There is no category in your budget model for miscellaneous expenses. There's no category. I'll say it again. Gary said it twice. I should say it twice too. You know, who am I to rewrite the book? Because Gary said it best. Is that there are no categories in your operating expenses for miscellaneous items, right? Everything has got to be assigned an actual category, and miscellaneous items is not a category, ladies and gentlemen. And so as you're looking at that, you gotta realize that that's the piece. Now, let's come down under operating expenses. There's going to be always 2 big chunks under operating expenses. And number 1, of course, is salaries. You've got that's going to be a huge portion, probably the biggest portion of your operating expenses is going to be salaries. Now, what are we talking about? Well, let's look at this. Salary for your first admin, salary for your second admin, and salary for your listing specialist. Those are minimum, right? Now, according to the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book, you may have what's called a telemarketer, or as we now know or refer to them as an inside sales agent or an outside sales agent. Okay, there's some salary there plus bonus as well. And ladies and gentlemen, I know that salaries, we start talking about salaries and we start thinking, how can I circumvent the salary? Can I put them on a commission? Can I put them on? The salaries are there to protect you as you grow to a millionaire real estate agent. The salaries don't grow. When you're paying commissions, that continues to grow based on your total cost. And so that's why we pay salaries, because when you're earning $1 million and you've got $100,000 worth of salaries, say 2 admin, a listing specialist, and an inside sales agent that you're paying all salary to, what you're actually doing is you're capping your salary at $100,000. So now when you go to $2.4 million, You still have salaries of $100,000, not $500,000 because you're paying a bonus. Okay? And so I really, truly desire to get everybody to get that, is that when you're paying people salaries, it seems like a big expense when you're making $1 million. It's 10% of your income. Okay? The book's actually, says that it should be somewhere right around 12% for total salaries of your income. And so as you're looking at salaries, your salaries will remain the same, yet the total GCI continues to rise, which means that the cost of those salaries percentage-wise continues to fall. Whereas if you were paying more commissions or paying more bonuses based on the total number of commissions as your commissions go up or as your gross GCI goes up, so does your cost for those commissions. So that's a huge point when we're talking about this budget model. Now, your big piece of your operating expenses is lead generation. Now, you can get creative with your lead generation budget, those kind of things, putting some things, instead of putting inside sales agent in salaries, you can put them in lead generation. That's up to you, and I kind of leave that up to you. And I think Matthew Fettick probably has the best explanation around some of those items. You can see some of his videos that he's done out there, or even check out Matthew's class that he's got on operating the Millionaire Real Estate Agent budget. And so as you're looking at salaries and lead generation, you're looking at your total operating expenses. Right there, ladies and gentlemen, that's about 72%. According to the model, it's about 72% of the total income that you've got coming in. All right? Of your operating expenses, not income, excuse me there. Of your total operating expenses in your budget. Now, as you're going through this, that's pretty much, as we're covering in these 3 pages, that's pretty much it. That's what's in there. So what I'd like to kind of do is on that graph on page number, that form and sample budget model on page 193 right here, let's kind of go through a couple of things. I think Gary's really done an amazing job. And so your cost of sale. Now remember what we said cost of sale is. Commissions. Commission to the selling agent, commission to the buyer's agent, and outgoing referrals. That's going to, Matthew Fettick, and that's pronounced, he's going to shoot me, Fetick, Matthew Fettick. All right? And so he runs a MAPS coaching program on the whole budget model. So I think that's a really cool there for you, Aaron. He does an amazing job. So as you're looking at your cost of sales, Gary says that needs to be, according to the model on the Millionaire Real Estate Agent model, which is 2.4% in GCI, that you should 2.4% of that GCI at your cost of sales should be roughly 29.2%. Or we can round that, say roughly to 30% of your total GCI needs to be your cost of sale. That's what you're paying your buyer specialist. That's what you're paying your listing specialist. And for me on my team, again, that is also covering outside referral fees. Now, let's talk about where your operating budget needs to be. Your operating expenses part of your budget. On your operating expenses part, that also needs to be at 30% of your total GCI. Okay? So on a $2.4 million total GCI, you got roughly 30% that's going to go to your cost of sale, roughly 30% that's going to go to your total operating expenses. So that's going to leave you, that's 60 total percent of your total GCI. According to the budget model, that's going to leave you with roughly 40% income. Now, I've heard some people say, you know what, that's just not possible. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I know that there are millionaire real estate agents out there that are operating at an even higher level than the 40%. So it is 100% doable. I'm not going to tell you it's not doable. Now remember, this book was written with an average sales price of $250,000. So the higher your average sales price is, the easier it's going to be to hit that 40% mark. All right. Now, if your average sales price is somewhere around that $100,000 mark, yeah, you're going to have to do a lot more in volume to actually get there. Okay. because this book was written on $250,000 average sales price. So as you're looking at these two models, and as you're looking at the budget model, and you're talking about, cost of sale, operational expenses, the key things I think you need to remember is follow the model. Don't get creative with the model. Remember, in the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book, what Gary says is that when we start with creativity, we actually flip that triangle up and it's very wobbly. When we start with the model and put the model down here on the bottom of this triangle, what we've actually done is we've created a strong foundation, and we can get creative as we grow up to the top, and we still have a strong foundational business. Okay? So cost of sale, 30%. Operating expenses, 30%. Total in your pocket, roughly 40%. Okay? Now I know some people have heard from, the Millionaire Real Estate Agent 2 that those numbers are going to reset. Yes, they are going to reset slightly. All right? It's going to be roughly somewhere between that 33 and 34% based on these expenses. Okay? And the Millionaire Real Estate Agent 2. So really only talking about 6% to 7% change in the total bottom line. All right. So what I'd like to do, I've covered my section here of the budget model. I've been honored to actually do this and cover this for everybody in the group tonight. I'd like to kind of just open it up for questions and see if anybody has any questions for me, and continue to post questions even tomorrow if you get a chance to watch this tomorrow. Don't hesitate to ask questions. I'll be here. Just tag me in it, so make sure that I get the notification, and I'll come in here and answer questions all through tomorrow as well. So any questions, I'll take another 30 seconds here to kind of see if there's any questions that are going to be typed. If not, have a wonderful evening, and we'll go from there. Brian Smith, you mentioned that you should have at least 3 months' salary set aside for your first admin. Do you think it's okay to hire a part-time admin at that point? So that's an absolutely great question, Ryan. And here's what I see some people doing. I see some people hiring a part-time admin, and when they're hiring that part-time admin, they're hiring that part-time admin to actually buy back some time or to get some leverage so they can't keep their foot on the gas. If that's the case, then I'm okay hiring the part-time admin, knowing that you are going to quickly get to that point where you're hiring a full-time admin. Okay? Now, here's what I'm going to tell you, and I know I may step on some toes here, and I'm a big virtual assistant proponent, yet your first admin is not a virtual assistant. Okay? Let me tell you why. You need somebody when you're running at that level, when it's you and your first admin, you need somebody that is going to control you. You need somebody that's going to, they're going to start to learn, where you falter. They're going to start to learn your strengths. They're going to start to learn your weaknesses. And one of your weaknesses, in most cases, I would say roughly, at least 95% of the people, most of our weak cases is paperwork. And so you're going to bring in a folder, and it's going to have paper sticking out of it. Nothing's going to be in order. You're going to be able to come in and drop it on that admin's desk and say, handle that. I'm on my way to the next appointment. And they're going to be able to get it all nice and neat and organized. They're going to go ahead and reach out to the seller. They're going to say, thank you so much for allowing us to be the opportunity to be your agent. They're going to start building that rapport with them. They're going to start handling some of that marketing, go ahead and get pictures, those kind of things set up. Whereas if you had a virtual assistant as your first admin, you run in 90 miles an hour, you've got this disheveled folder, and you've got to run to another appointment. What's going to happen is you're going to drop it on your desk because you've got to get it organized so that you can actually scan it over to that virtual assistant. And when you scan it over to that virtual assistant, now what's going to happen is that you've got another appointment. I don't have time. So you're going to run out to the next appointment. And then what's going to happen is that you're going to have to come back in the evening, and now you got a stack of 3 or 4 folders that you've got to get all organized. At this point, your energy's down. You're already doing something that doesn't give you energy. And so what's going to happen is it's going to take your productivity and zap your energy at the end of the day. It's going to make it harder the next morning to get up and running. It's going to make it harder in the morning to get go back into that lead generation mode. It's even going to be harder to go in. You're going to have some fear of success potentially at that point. What if I go and get 5 more listings today? Are you going to be in the right mindset for that? And so you have to watch that. So I'm okay. I know my first admin was a part-time assistant. That part-time assistant, all I needed her to do was to enter listings into the multiple listing service for me. Because when I sit down and put a listing into the multiple listing service, it takes me 3 hours. And it's a challenge, ladies and gentlemen. An absolute challenge. I have just this whole herd of squirrels that start running across my desk as I'm clicking those individual boxes. And so I just hired somebody 2 hours a day, 3 days a week, just to enter listings into the multiple listing service for me at first. And then very quickly, within 3-month period after that, actually hired her full time and went forward from there. Okay, so I hope that answers your question. Give me a thumbs up, likes, or something. Let me know that did cover your question. Any other questions that are out there? I'm here for you this evening. I'm in no hurry. The boys are in bed and we're good to go. Awesome. So we got the thumbs up there. So it takes about another 15 seconds and we have a question pop up. Like I said, I'll go ahead and handle it. My pleasure, Ryan. Again, like I said, I'm honored to be able to do these. I've been doing a series on the Millionaire real estate agent admin and managing the MREA office. And so it's been a full series that we've done for 6 weeks. We finish it up tomorrow at noon, and it's been pretty exciting there. We're going to upload all those to KW Connect, so those will all be in there as well, so you can get a chance to take care of those and look through those and hopefully bring you some value there as well. Awesome. So ladies and gentlemen, I got to get one more plug. If you know anybody that's looking to move to Greenville, South Carolina, or the upstate of South Carolina, that would be Spartanburg, Greenville, Anderson, Clemson, Easley, those areas. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd love to be able to help them. Also, I'm going to be launching Bold coming up in October in 4 cities or 3 cities 4 times, doing Minneapolis, St. Paul. So if you know anybody in Minneapolis, St. Paul there, in the Twin Cities, let them know. We'll be there on Mondays and Tuesdays starting in October. We'll also be in San Antonio, Texas on Wednesdays. So if you know anybody there, let them know. And then also on Austin, Texas at the mothership there at the Austin Southwest Market Center. And so we'll be there on Thursdays coaching Bold coming up starting on October the 9th. And that'll be the first step that week of October the 9th. So ladies and gentlemen, you all have a great evening. Have a wonderful, wonderful night. Go out there tomorrow. Remember, tomorrow is Friday. It's still a day to go out there and continue to crush it and reach for your goals. Go out there and be bold.